Hey everyone! So you may have heard me talk last time about the lizard brain and how it likes to keep you stuck feeling stressed out or grouchy or easily overwhelmed. And if you missed that, I'll put that down in the comment section for you. Today I want to talk about the inner critic, which is definitely a manifestation of our lizard brain. It's not very smart in that it thinks it's keeping you safe by keeping you kind of beat down and playing small, and how self-compassion can really be one of the fastest ways to move out of this stressed out and reactive lizard brain. In fact, if there was just one thing I could teach trauma survivors, it would be self-compassion. Now, if you're somebody who has a lot of unhealed trauma, chances are you've probably got a nasty inner voice. You're probably pretty hard on yourself. Maybe you're a bit of a perfectionist, or you've got this nasty inner judge whenever you feel like you've done something wrong or have fallen short in some way. What a lot of people don't know is that our brains, our bodies, our nervous systems, they all respond exactly the same to our own inner criticisms as they would if someone important to us was speaking harshly to us. That's to say, it responds with fight or flight or shutting down with despair. You can maybe start to see that this is a little bit like pouring fuel on the fire of that already overactive lizard brain. It becomes this self-perpetuating cycle that keeps the brain stuck in stress mode. But maybe you can also start to see that if you instead started to treat yourself with compassion, you can begin to break that cycle and stop having the lizard brain hijack your life all the time. So if you're someone with a nasty inner voice, it probably at least tries to convince you that you're such a failure that you need to be spoken to harshly. And the last thing that you need is self-compassion. It might even try to tell you that you would probably never accomplish anything ever again in your life if you were a little nicer to yourself. So this is where we maybe need to be a little creative in how we deal with this negative inner voice. And just a side note here, our goal is not to get rid of the inner critic. We cannot control automatic thoughts, but the goal here is to have a kinder, more compassionate voice, be the louder one, so that the inner critic is easier to ignore. And over time, what you'll probably start finding is that automatic thought will start becoming more kinder and more compassionate. So some tips you can play around with to help make working with that inner critic a little easier. For myself, I consider myself a bit of a pragmatist. If doing A is going to get me to B, even if it's something I wouldn't ordinarily do, and especially if it's something that doesn't require a whole lot of extra effort, then I can usually follow a formula without really having to overthink it. However, if your brain is a little more sticky on this, the invitation is to imagine that whenever you're in this situation where that negative inner voice is getting really loud, that I want you to imagine that somebody that you really care about is going through this very same situation. And then I want you to imagine what your kindest, most heart-centered version of yourself would say to this person to help them feel better. And that is what I want you to say to yourself. So I invite you to try this out this week. And please don't do this perfectly. Don't try to do this perfectly. These automatic negative thoughts probably happen dozens of times per day. You're not going to catch them all. Just aim to catch them even a handful of times per day, and that's all it takes to start laying down these new neural pathways. And lastly, really set the intention to notice how different and good it feels in the body and the nervous system to replace the harshness with softness. Notice the response in the body and the nervous system, and how this simple shift can really quickly take you out of that stress response, which then makes you feel more peaceful and calm, which of course has a ripple effect in all areas of your life. So that's it for now, but I would love to hear from you with any questions or comments about this week's practice. Bye for now.